When a pair of elderly newlyweds went to Europe for their honeymoon, the husband had a heart attack and died. The wife arranged to have his body brought back in a casket to their new home in Florida. She made the connecting flight, but the casket did not. In fact, the airline could not locate it for 5 days. When the casket was finally found at the deceased's hometown airport, it was empty. One way or another, the man got cold feet.
So I wasn't expecting a joke into your own thing. Was that the actual story?
That's literally how it ended.
I'm sorry, I can't do anything better than just your Jeff Dunham story. There's nothing I can add on top of that.
Waka waka!
Hi, welcome to Paranoia
Welcome to
Shop.
Paranoia Shop.
Episode 10.
This is Paranoia Shop, your one-stop shop for all things conspiracy, paranormal, and generally weird. This is episode 10.
Holy shit, episode 10. Double digits.
We're into the big 1-0, and believe it or not, this episode is about planes.
Wait, let's add an adjective to the front of it. Mysterious planes.
Well, the title I was going to go with, Planes, Strange, and Horrormobiles.
Oh, yeah. Of course, like that great John Candy Steve Martin movie that no one's watched, even though it's really, really good.
Everybody's seen that.
It's really, really good.
They haven't stopped listening to this
This is
podcast.
not about just regular planes. We're not going to talk about like F-120.
It was an F-15 Tomcat. That's
Yeah, this is about weird flying machines
that have gone awry.
that have gone awry or did something real crazy.
Plane disappearances and plane mysteries have, for the past 100 years, captured the imagination of us, because man was never meant to fly, and now that we are, it seems like we've ventured into unseen territory.
And no, we will not be talking about the Pixar/DreamWorks film starring Dane Cook.
Was he the star of that movie?
This is how far off the reservation now Pixar Disney has been with their movies. The new Planes movie and the Cars universe. It starts off with Cars universe, main character voiced by Dane Cook, which is, man, you can't say a hipper main voice actor than Dane Cook.
That would have been real cool in 2003.
Anyway,
so
mysterious
this episode
planes.
is about weird planes.
Weird planes. I was going to save this topic for let's just get it out of the way. The problem with mysterious planes is me trying to dig into this was everything was 9/11. Every single plane conspiracy story was somehow tied into 9/11. The planes were remote controlled. The planes didn't exist. What happened to the bodies? All kind of truther stuff. If you are a truther listening to this show, genuinely write in. I would love to hear from you.
Just answer all the questions that we as a scientific community might have.
We will not make fun of you. I would genuinely love to talk to a truther. That would be pretty cool. Hey, let's talk about how Seth MacFarlane almost got on that plane.
Oh yeah, he did.
Which is brought up all the time.
Did you guys at home know that Seth MacFarlane almost got on one of the planes? Flight 93.
Like he canceled his flight or something and he would have been on the plane that would have crashed
into the tower.
Family Guy would have just been that thing you talk about in Cult Legend. Like, yeah, there's that show Family Guy ahead of season.
One season. It was brilliant.
It was really brilliant ahead of its time.
Yeah.
We'll never see anything like it again.
That's
Cleveland show. What are you talking about? What alternate dimension? What? Cleveland? Like that random character from that show?
Crazy.
Why would anyone give him a show? Get out of here, time travel man.
Well, speaking of 9/11...
Do you have one for 9/11? Because I was going to say...
kind of.
Okay.
Let me just say, this ties in with the first story. That first story, that little corny tidbit that we started the show with, was an actual urban legend that spread between flight attendants.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard variations of this story a lot of different times.
It was actually from a collection of urban legends that was compiled by a former flight attendant by the name of James Wysong. He's written several books on the subject. He's sort of like the Brothers Grimm of spooky airplane tales. Okay.
So in 100 years, they'll make a movie starring Matt Damon.
The collection is called Plain Spooky, Plane.
Shut up.
Do you want to hear a few other examples
of his spooky plane stories?
Well, not just his, but the ones he's accumulated. True stories, supposedly true spooky things that have happened on flights. A flight attendant discovered that her husband, a pilot, was cheating with countless coworkers. The The husband mysteriously disappeared, but the investigation was not highly publicized, perhaps because of this unsavory coincidence. The pilot's body was never found. However, the flight attendant wife was famous for bringing homemade sandwiches to work, then generously handing them out to passengers and crew, even when there was no scheduled meal service.
Wait, what?
Talk about getting rid of the evidence.
What year is this taking place?
No,
I would never accept anything given to me by just someone on the plane. Even Southwest Airlines, like as nice as they are.
But if the flight steward handed you a sandwich...
No! If she said it was homemade...
She wouldn't say that. She would say, here's your lunch. And you'd be like, oh, great! There's a free lunch.
Why is it in a wrapped-up saran wrap? Why is it in a paper bag, you crazy lady?
So you wouldn't eat man meat, is what you're saying.
I would actually, no, I do want to eat man meat. Like, I would love, if any of my friends, Aaron, if at any point you want to, I might do this for you guys. Before I die, and if I know I'm like the free diseases, I genuinely am like going to be down to say, you guys can eat me if you want. Like, let me die, and then quickly harvest my meat and have nice, like, meat sandwiches.
Well, according to, I think it was Mark Twain's first book, which was a story of travelogues, he said that he interviewed a cannibal in New Guinea, and he said that human flesh tastes exactly like inferior pork.
Yeah, I can see that. I still want to eat it.
The irony of eating human flesh on an airplane, though, is that when you reach altitudes of 30,000 feet, your nasal passages swell up and make it impossible to taste anything. Which is why airplane food is so bad.
Doesn't matter?
Because you can't taste it.
I've had delicious snacks on planes.
That's because they pump them up with salt and stuff to make them extra flavorful.
I'm just thinking about things I brought onto the plane, like, you know, I go in Cinnabon and bring
That's why, like, astronaut food is so bad, because it doesn't matter. It just, you can't taste it in space. Quite a few years back, a man shot his gun into the air, signaling the end of duck season. The shot pierced a commercial airplane flying overhead, and some pellets hit a passenger in the bottom. The investigation revealed that the victim was, unbelievably, the brother of the man who fired the gun.
Wait, what? Wait, okay, alright, hold on. What?
They're almost like mind twisters. You have to think about them.
Okay, so one guy gets on the plane.
So a guy gets on the plane. Meanwhile, on the ground, a hillbilly is like, into duck season! And he shoots his shotgun into the air and hits a commercial airline.
And happens to kill his own brother.
He hits his brother in the bottom. It doesn't say
in the bottom. So that also implies that one
shotgun blast would travel 30,000 feet in the air.
Yeah, well, also just that one of the brothers is pretty up to date with modern times and uses air travel to get around. And
it's like the city mouse and the country mouse.
Flying skeletons in the sky. Like just taking pot shots at it.
Kapoo!
Yeah.
Here's the last one. Stopped by the police for speeding on the way to the airport, a woman missed her flight. The airplane crashed, and there were no survivors. I think that was used in a million, like, Final Destination movies.
Yeah.
What makes this story really strange is that the standby passenger who took her place was related to the police officer who gave the woman a ticket.
That's too weird of a connection. Like, that's just like a coincidental...
It does have a romantic ending, however, as the police officer and the lucky lady were married 2 years later. That is one relationship that fate definitely had a hand in.
This is the worst.
Some luck is just plain spooky. Plane.
Okay.
Buy my book by the same name.
Okay. All right. Before I forget, I wanted to talk about ideas of like plain coincidences. There's an example of one. It's like a story just spread around like, see, the government's in on it. A lady who's a 9/11 truther flies to the White House to meet the president, flies back from D.C., her plane crashes. And everyone's like, did you notice that Obama bought her the ticket?
What?
Like, the White House like flew her out there because she was a survivor of 9/11. And they're like, oh, just the fact that the White House paid for her ticket, flies her out there, she's fine, meets with Obama, and then on the way back her plane crashes. Weird, crazy coincidence, right?
Yeah.
But just like, the White House took her down. Which is also weird because if the government wanted to silence her, that's a little silly to be like, let's give her a nice trip first. Let's give her an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C.
Hey, I hope my assassin is that accommodating.
So, another example of one was, there's a video that keeps getting pushed around with no real connections about what the connection of the video is, but it's a GoPro video that captures a Hawaii plane crash.
The plane is going down, spiraling into the ocean.
And supposedly one of the ladies in the videotape of this plane going down, so this is GoPro footage of a plane crashing, was the official who verified Obama's birth certificate.
Unfortunately, there was one fatality. The state's health department director was on board and was killed.
What?
So I don't know if that means that Obama's people, after she was done her duty, decided to silence her, or that the other people on the other side decided to take her out. So I have this footage of, this is the Hawaii plane crash. It's just being spread by like an ABC News story, this version of the footage.
Whoa, that is crazy. Is the plane sinking now?
That's actually super scary.
That's terrifying.
You're seeing your plane outside your window just sink. I just want to share the description of people who submitted it to Reddit's conspiracy page. So with the rumor already in the air about Obama's fake birth certificate, the woman who verified his Hawaiian birth certificate has died in a plane crash over the ocean of Hawaii. But I watched the video, and so I asked you to do the same. Why would someone bring a GoPro out during a plane crash? Why was everyone so calm during the crash? Why did the plane land ever so sweetly, kissing the water, and yet she still dies almost instantly, yet no one was injured, not even the pilot?
She did die.
So the state health department's director was a person who died on the plane, the only person who died. Kind of strange to imagine, but the shock, it'd be hard to imagine. The plane does land very smoothly.
A heart attack?
Or maybe she was poisoned by the government and they took down the plane just to make double sure.
Maybe it was like a polonium capsule?
Yeah. You think she was about to leak the truth? Was she just in the wrong place at the wrong time? I think it's silly to blame a plane, use a plane crash as a vehicle of murder. It's just the collateral damage of it, the attention that goes towards a plane crash. If you want to take out someone,
just give her a ricin or something. There's going to be a lot less investigation than a fucking plane crash.
I know. This also segues perfectly into one of the ones that I wanted to bring up. It was the Malaysian flight.
This is Piers Morgan Live. Breaking news tonight. A Malaysia Airlines plane carrying 239 people bound for Beijing is missing. According to a statement from the airline, air traffic control lost contact with flight MH370.
Which was pretty crazy, honestly. The recent Malaysia plane disaster.
Yes, it's been in the news a lot.
The search for the missing plane is now into its 11th day, and while we've heard numerous theories, we still have no clear answers.
And people are like, is it a little too soon to talk about? Like, well, everyone else is already talking about it. And there's been so much discussion about it. I feel like we should probably address some of the theories and postulations and all of these bizarre accounts that people have come up for.
A lot of people have been asking about that, about black holes and on and on and on, and all of these conspiracy theories. Let's look at this. Noah says, what else can you think about? Black hole, Bermuda Triangle. And then Deji says, just like the movie Lost. I know it's preposterous, but is it preposterous, you think, Mary?
A crazy conspiracy theory.
It's captured the imagination.
I got kind of spooked thinking about it for a while. I was starting to wonder, I wonder if a government took them down somewhere for a couple of days just because it was so crazy to imagine a plane disappears into the ocean. You still think, yes, it's a giant ball of water we live in. But you think they'd be able to find something. Transponder, something would float.
Right.
The sheer numbers of all the most popular theories would happen to the plane would be so logistically hard to hide at this point. You'd have to land in some remote island, which coincidentally is one of the theories. That's been a very popular idea, that the plane landed somewhere. Yeah. They took everyone. That's 200 people. Do you know how hard it is to house, feed, keep them alive, whatever you're trying to do?
That's like a school.
Yeah. Do you know what my fan theory, not a fan theory, what I want so badly to happen, Aaron? I feel like I've told you this when it first happened. I want next week that plane lands at its destination and everyone gets off and what are you talking about? We've been in the air for 12 hours.
So they flew through a black hole or a wormhole or something.
Yeah, they flew through a wormhole or no one knows. What are you talking about? That would be the spookiest shit. One of my favorite theories was that two of the people on the plane had stolen passports. So that was a lot of people's instinct, those people must have been hijackers, or those people had something to do with it. That's weird. The craziest one is that 20 passengers on the flight were all from a Department of Defense company that specialized in electronic warfare and weapons, and one of the things they're working on was technology that could cloak a plane.
What?
Yeah.
So what they did was they rehashed the old Philadelphia experiment concept, which is that there was cloaking technology that sent an aircraft carrier into the past through time. So they're saying...
I'm sure that's in Command and Conquer Red Alert. I feel like that's Command and Conquer Red Alert.
But it was based on the Philadelphia experiment.
The company is apparently called Freescale Semiconductor, and the theories rise that apparently there were actually 20 employees from that company, all probably on a business trip or something.
Right.
Or maybe a fun getaway, or maybe they were experimenting with their stealth technology.
On a commercial airliner for some reason.
Yeah, so that they were working on technology that could be used to test stuff. I don't even know if there's actually any confirmation that they were working on anything like that, but just a company that could likely work on cloaking technology, hence the disappearance from the radar, why you couldn't find the plane. So there are many things. Maybe there was an experiment and it went awry. One of the ideas is that the Chinese government got a wind of it and had to take the plane down. So they shot the plane down to make sure the Chinese didn't get their stealth technology. My favorite detail of all of this is that 4 days after the missing flight, MH370, a HF radar patent is approved by the Patent Office for Freescale Semiconductors. So something called HF radar. It's approved, goes through. 4 of the 5 patent holders were on that plane. The 5th owner wasn't, and his name is Jacob Rothschild.
So you think it was a tontine?
Yes, I think it was a tontine or some sort of not even a tontine, but just something big was about to happen, and one guy sabotaged the flight so that the other 4 went down, and he was the only patent holder.
But if he's the only patent holder, that means he stands to earn all the money from the royalties.
Yeah, according to this...
It was a tontine. For you listeners at home who are not aware of what a tontine is, it's one of Chad and I's favorite concepts.
Oh, God, I love the idea of a tontine so bad.
Which is... it was the basis of a Simpsons episode, but the premise of it is that it's a binding contract that you enter into with other people that the last man alive is the one who inherits all of the money that you've put into this account or all of this valuable asset. So there's this strong incentive to murder the other people in the tontine so that you can get all the money. Basically.
Yeah. And there's a lot of holes in this theory. The idea that Rothschild would have taken down a plane like a giant master villain in
he could
that
still
company.
Be a CEO and well, all the board members are dead. 1,000% raise for me.
Yeah, and I guess my company that I own now has all of the patent. But there's the idea that there's a little bit of an inconsistency on it.
But there's something about mysterious plane disappearances that just causes people to lose their minds. The theories that people concoct around them are amazing. The Malaysia flight that disappeared, where Afghan terrorists took it over, alien abduction. Yes, it was probably aliens.
Yes, the chronosphere was activated and teleported.
The plane probably teleported. So while we're on the subject of Flight MH370, we actually got a fan mail postulating on the cause of this. We got a fan mail from the email sack. Email sack. Email sack.
Email sack. Clean email sack. Email sack.
Email sack. So the subject is, I have a theory from superfan Alex Hagel, and he writes...
It's pretty great. Alex Hagel's pretty great.
Alex Hagel, you're great. Alex Hagel writes, Cthulhu got Flight 370. Okay. That's why it disappeared. It was the bloop!
The bloop will swallow them all.
So that was a reference to episode 4, Spooky Noises of the Unexplained, where we suggested that the coordinates of the bloop, which was this massive underwater sound that could be heard across the entire ocean, happened to be emanating from approximately the same place that H.P. Lovecraft said that the city of Riley, where the underwater monster, the forgotten lost one, Cthulhu.
Please, we don't need to explain Cthulhu. We all understand.
So anyway, Alex was suggesting that maybe Cthulhu reached out of the ocean, awakened from his dreamless slumber, grabbed commercial flight MH370, and then went back to sleep in his non-Euclidean terror dome.
The Malaysian flight at this point has every conspiracy theory. It is kind of nuts that there's still a lot of stuff that's not revealed.
Well, spooky. I will say, as of this recording, the wreckage of Flight MH370 has yet to be found.
True.
So it is still an unsolved mystery.
They keep thinking they find the pinging of the black box. They still haven't found the black box.
So, in theory, it could have been Chinese aliens.
It could have been Chinese aliens. Next mysterious plane thing.
I believe we got a few tweets about this a while back. People bring it up often. It is one of the classics, I will say that. This is vintage paranormal.
It's a little old hat.
It's old hat, but I feel like we should touch upon it because it really is the epicenter of weird plane disappearances. And of course, I'm talking about the Bermuda Triangle.
There's too much stuff in the Bermuda. Aaron, I think this is a whole nother episode. I think the Bermuda Triangle is...
It is, but it isn't. And let me just explain why.
Okay, then.
Let me explain why. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle, the earliest allegation of unusual disappearances in the Bermuda area, began in an article on September 17, 1950, published in the Miami Herald by Edward Van Winkle Jones, covering the loss of several planes and ships, including the loss of Flight 19, which was a group of 5 U.S. Navy TBM Avenger bombers on a training mission that just disappeared while flying over Bermuda. Since then, the legend grew. Author Alan W. Eckert wrote that the flight leader had been heard saying, "We're entering white water. Nothing seems right. We don't know where we are. The water is green. No white." And then disappeared off the radar.
Okay.
He also wrote that officials at the Navy Board of Inquiry stated that the planes flew off to Mars, and thus the Bermuda Triangle was born. The legend, obviously, is that there's just some strange field in this triangle that's between 3 islands in the Caribbean that causes ships and planes and people to just vanish and reappear and vanish again.
But that's legitimate. There is actually some strange minor field that's causing disturbances, right? We still have those encountered every once in a while.
Well,
it's not like you just go in there like, everything's fine.
Let me tell you the lore, and then we'll get into that. The earliest allegation of unusual disappearances is actually way, way back in 1881. There was a schooner called the Ellen Austin, which, according to stories, they approach a derelict ship with no crew members on board while sailing through the Caribbean. After manning it with a prize crew, which is a small skeleton crew that's designed to sail a captured ship into harbor where they can sell it, they go into the triangle and then vanish. And then suddenly the ship reappears without the prize crew that they manned it with.
Wait, what?
So then they put more people on it to try to sail it again, and then it appears again, and the second prize crew vanishes. And then finally they just leave the ship alone.
They just abandon all those
get the
people.
f*** out of there. What are they going to do? They were gone.
They send people on a boat.
Yeah, they're like, oh, a free boat.
Well, get on this boat. So those guys, Group A gets on the boat.
Like they send 5 guys on the ship.
New free boat. And they just vanish.
Yes.
And then the boat comes back minus Group A.
And then they're further in the Bermuda Triangle and they find the boat again.
I like to keep saying they just keep trying. Like, I don't know, maybe this time. Like, there's really casual about one, and one guy is just going, and I was like, no, you stay here. And just one by one. It's like a bad Monty Python sketch, which just one more person just like goes over there. And
just
like,
one more.
Just one more. Maybe we'll fill up the ghost room.
We don't know it's a ghost ship. That was the earliest one, and ever since then, there's been supposed reports of these crewmen disappearing, ships disappearing, planes disappearing.
What do you tell those people's loved ones? Like, oh yeah, they got on a boat, we just left them. Like,
I think that's when you just go, meh, it's a living.
Ghost ship. Like, you just go, hey,
ghost
listen,
ship got him.
Time to go make another boy.
Time to go find another husband. As I mentioned before, the first flight that was really a big deal was Flight 19, which was 5 bomber planes that disappeared on December 5th, 1945, while flying over that region of the Atlantic Ocean. And then one of the search and rescue aircraft that was deployed to look for them with a 13-man crew also disappeared while looking for that group of planes that disappeared.
Just stop going. You just look when...
Well, it's a big swath of water.
I'm just saying, you just treat it like Detroit, where you're like, if anything bad's going on there, we're just not going to send any guys.
Other lost planes include, there's a plane called the Star Ariel and the Star Tiger, a Douglas DC-4 bomber, a pleasure yacht, where once again the crew disappeared but the ship remained. That seems to be a common theme in Bermuda Triangles. It just, sucks the people out and then leaves the ship.
Which is easy, just they fell over. They might just it might just be a lot of drunk people.
Why does this keep happening? What possibly could explain it? As always, there's a million crazy explanations. The wackiest one, by far, is that it's leftover technology from the mythical lost continent of Atlantis.
Ooh, I like this. I actually like this idea a lot.
So there's some device that was floating on the bottom of the ocean that is just sending off these particle beams that causes people to teleport.
Yeah, it could be some sort of security. Maybe they're all in Atlantis.
They could be teleporting them down.
Oh my god! What if it's
great? I'm never leaving.
Yeah. What if it's not a harmful thing? What if it's like the way Atlantis works is Atlantis never sank; it was always underwater. Yeah, and then you just go to certain coordinates, you just get teleported down, and suddenly you're in just Gungan City. Except it's not terrible Jamaican stereotypes. Yeah, but it's just hot. It's all Kira from the Disney movie Atlantis. All of them just we're ready to bone, and you're just this is great. This is my new life now.
So apparently, the reason people are suggesting that, even though the first mention of Atlantis is in Plato, right, which is he had no knowledge of the New World. But sure, why not? Apparently there's a rock formation known as the Bimini Road, which is just off the Bimini Islands in Bahamas.
Makes sense.
Which is a series of sort of triangular stone squares that are on the bottom of the ocean that can't be explained, that look like the foundations of an ancient sunken city.
How big are we talking?
About the size of like a city square.
Oh, wow. I was thinking like small little basketball-sized stones. These are huge.
No, like each stone is like the foundation of a house.
Have we tried to drill in there? Have we just tried to go into them and just see what happens?
No, I think people have tried to excavate it, but they're just like large stones, and no one knows why they're there. Followers of the purported psychic Edgar Cayce take his prediction that the evidence of Atlantis would be found in 1968 as referring to the discovery of the Bimini Road. Believers describe the formation as a road, wall, or other structure, though geologists consider it to be of natural origin.
Oh, you goddamn buzzkills.
Yeah.
Let's have our magical city.
Here's one theory that I found actually kind of interesting and plausible. Bear with me here. It's sort of strange, but methane hydrates. Beneath the ocean floor in the Gulf of Mexico and surrounding areas, there's this huge substrate of methane gas, right? And that, whenever you hear about ocean fracking, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to drill down and then drill all to that natural gas. But it's a giant deposit, like more than we could ever use. And occasionally, every few thousand years, that there'll be a crack in the ocean floor, and this gigantic release of methane will bubble up and create these huge, essentially gas volcanoes.
Plus a kaiju monster comes out.
Plus kaiju monsters come out, and then we have to send giant robots to battle them.
To kill monsters, we made monsters.
Exactly. And that's in my geology book. So the theory is that maybe one of these methane hydrates has cracked open in the Bermuda Triangle and will occasionally send up a giant skyscraper-sized bubble of methane gas that will bubble up right beneath these giant tankers and ships and planes and suck them down like a vacuum.
Oh, it would suck them down? It wouldn't just either blow them up or make them just go delirious?
Well, all of that.
Yeah.
But if a giant bubble opened up beneath you, it's like a sinkhole. A giant, like, aircraft carrier sinkhole that will pull the ship down and then cover it in water. Which would instantly, like, kill anybody on board.
There really needs to be James Cameron-type people doing more excavations of the Bermuda Triangle waters to see if there's anything down there. I think everyone's too spooked. Everyone's too scared.
Yeah, and then the ship would just bob to the top of the cork with no crew and then continue on its merry way. That's the most interesting theory. The other theory is that the Bermuda Triangle actually isn't anything at all. And that, in fact, every one of those mysterious disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle, when you actually look at them, either aren't real or are exactly the same as any other ship disappearance you would see anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's a giant area, I guess, right? Like you could just draw out a random spot on the globe and go, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens there, and it probably does.
Yeah. Apparently, statisticians have run the numbers, and there's no more frequency of loss of planes or ships in Bermuda Triangle than anywhere else in the world.
They should just do that for random spots on the map. This is the spooky square, and it's just like
the spooky hexagon.
It's just Nebraska, like for 200 square miles, like all the weird stuff that happens in the spooky square, all these murders. Like, it's Nebraska. People are bored. They murder each other.
Hi, my name's Joey.
Hi, my name's Kyle.
I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Brian. We are all on a show called LOLJK. You can listen to us over at www.godmakespoop.com at the home feed for Explosa Magico. I don't really know what we do, and I don't think we do most times either when we start recording, but come join us.
It's a lot of fun!
Live recorded chaos. Yeah, if you like listening to people talk over each other, drinking beer, and yelling at each other, I suppose you'll have a good time with us.
We have all of the above.
Aaron, you're not covering the most strangest mysterious plane of all time.
What's that?
Yogi Bear and the Spruce Goose.
Oh, I forgot magic.
Yeah, the magical plane. If you don't remember Yogi Bear and the Spruce Goose, it's that like cartoon. It's such in the fragments of my memory as something I watched all the time, but I believe
it was like a TV movie.
I believe it was like Yogi Bear and all of like the Hanna-Barbera mainstays are all just like checking out a museum of the Spruce Goose, which was like a famous giant. Think of the plane from Tailspin. It's the plane from Tailspin, essentially.
Well, it's actually the plane from The Aviator. Howard Hughes built it.
It's a giant plane.
Howard Hughes built it essentially to steal money from the U.S. government during World War II. Like, his military spending way over budget. The legend is that it couldn't fly, and that it was just a huge failure, and Howard Hughes is like kind of a war criminal. And then he was like, no, it will fly, and then he was able to fly it like 2 feet off of the ground. It's like, see, it flies!
And Spruce Goose, yeah.
And then they decided to make it into a Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
It was so strange. There's some weird love of the Spruce Goose, but it's like a Yogi Bear and El Kabong, whatever his name is, like the horse. Man, Hanna-Barbera characters do not hold up as well as you remember. I don't remember. I think they just fly the entire time, and then they like, well, this plane's gonna land, and they get out and go, wow,
what a magical
adventure that
on
was.
That plane,
Yogi Bear and the Spruce Goose. Though, really, I mean, we have not talked about the most famous mysterious plane, also tied into the Bermuda Triangle, Amelia Earhart.
That's true. Amelia Earhart was a story that I grew up with and sort of instilled a deep fascination.
I'm sorry, were you raised
history.
On stories of Amelia Earhart, like tucked into bed?
I was. I don't know why, but as a kid, I think in like 5th grade, we studied in detail the disappearance of Amelia Earhart.
Oh, I was thinking like you're being tucked into bed as a 10-year-old, and your mom's like, now remember, and then Amelia Earhart, she tried to do something different, and she died.
Never
saw her ever again. Stay here, where it's safe.
That basically. So, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the tale of Amelia Earhart, but Earhart, in 1932, she became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. So she was like this huge overnight celebrity, a great women's lib.
Total babe
magnet.
If Playboy was around back then, man, there would have been an Amelia Earhart spread.
Absolutely. But she was a pretty admirable person, She was part of that decade of daring do where, you kind of made headlines by taking chances and making mistakes.
Miss Frizzle stuff. Magic School Bus type activities.
In 1937, she decided to undertake something that no one else in the world had ever done. She and her partner, Fred Noonan, would fly a Lockheed Electra going from Papua New Guinea to California. Basically one flight across the Pacific Ocean. It was the final stage of a journey to fly around the globe along an equatorial route, which had never been done before. Their intended destination was Howland Island, a flat sliver of land that was only about 6,500 feet long and 1,600 feet wide. So a pretty tiny island, just the size of an airstrip.
Why even go there?
They were just going to touch down, do a little maintenance.
They're going to bone there, though. I don't mean to be crude, but you don't go on a crazy adventurous trip with a significant other or someone, of the opposite.
Well,
not saying opposite sex. You can bone anyone, but you don't go to another island where no one is possibly around and not go, we should just slip it in.
Can you join the Mile High Club if there's only 2 people in the plane and you're piloting the plane?
Or if you can go to a random deserted island where no one's there, that's some goddamn adult.
That's like Blue Lagoon shit.
That's some vivid DVD adult porn.
True. Well, apparently her plane had been having some issues with the navigation equipment, and so they're going to touch down, try to resolve that. But then the navigation equipment started to really fuck up. They couldn't even see, some fog rolled in, they got turned around, they couldn't find any landmarks, and then things started to get really dire really quickly. And then she just disappeared. And no one knows what happened to her or Fred.
Wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, so she was with a guy.
Yeah, a guy the guy was down in, the little cockpit area, doing the navigation stuff.
I don't care, though. I'm just now a little realized. I feel oh, yeah, everything's always been Amelia Earhart flying solo. Poor dude. Not mentioned all the time.
Yeah.
Just as adventurous, technically, right? He's helping out. He doesn't get mentioned into the weird, crazy explorers. God damn Amelia Earhart.
There's one other interesting player in these last few moments of Amelia Earhart's flight, which is there's a ship called the Itasca, which was stationed on Howland Island there to communicate with her. During their approach to Howland Island, they received strong and clear voice transmissions from Earhart.
Please take bearing on us and report in half hour. I will make noise in about 100 miles out.
She was apparently unable to hear their voices, so that was the first sign something was wrong. Then at 7:42 a.m., Earhart radioed, "We must be on you."
"We must be on you but cannot see you. Gas is running low. Been unable to reach you by radio."
Maybe her goddamn woman problems were kicking in and she just lost the
ability.
She
lost her hearing, women do.
As women do.
Whether or not there were any post-loss radio signals after that are controversial. There's been a few that were determined to be hoaxes, but others that were deemed to be authentic. Sporadic signals were reported for 4 to 5 days after the disappearance, but none yielded any understandable information. So for up to 5 days after her plane disappeared, they seemed to be getting signals that could have been her.
From her ghost. Again, no one's offering the idea that poor guy stuck on the cockpit of the plane could also be lost. Just Amelia.
Amelia.
I'm going to go to Tumblr about this. I'm really upset with this gender politics that are happening with this story.
Search and rescue attempts followed for days, weeks, months, years to no avail. She had simply disappeared. So you want to hear some of the leading theories
Sure.
of what happened to Amelia Earhart. Some of these are actually pretty interesting. The first and the most obvious one is the crash and sink theory. That all the radio signals after the last confirmed one were false and the ship simply ran out of gas. They crashed, they sank, end of story.
That's boring.
Boring. There's the Gardner Island theory, that she and Fred Noonan did in fact crash land in the water, but managed to make it to a nearby island and survive there for a time, but were never seen by rescuers for some reason. They've suggested that Earhart and Noonan may have flown without further radio transmissions for 2.5 hours and then landed near the uninhabited Gardner Island.
So they landed and were just survived there. That's the theory.
As island survivors.
That sounds great. I love the magic of that, but also a lot of boning. But we would have found that plane or something at that point.
You think so? So here's another theory. The spies for FDR theory.
Okay, good.
This theory suggests that Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were in fact spies for the U.S. government at the behest of Franklin Roosevelt, and that the entire flight over the Pacific was a ruse to map out Japanese military positions.
No, why would you make the most public flight your spy? Guys, that's not how you do spy right.
Sometimes if you move closer to danger, the further you are from trouble. That's
Sorry, was that a Michael Caine quote?
That's Hobbit sense.
Oh, okay.
The Japanese knew of this, and when their plane was forced to make an emergency landing on the nearby island of Saipan, they were captured by the Japanese and executed. In 2009, an Earhart relative stated that the pair died in Japanese custody without really elaborating.
And then that was it. And then they died.
Citing unnamed witnesses, including Japanese troops and Saipan natives who had contacted him.
I like that there was someone who's like, yeah, Mom, Grandma died by the Japs, and then just closes her mouth up and says nothing else whatsoever.
He said that the Japanese cut the valuable Lockheed aircraft into scrap and threw the pieces in the ocean in spite.
Just spit on it, each single one.
Which included a letter from the daughter of a Japanese police official who claimed her father was responsible for Earhart's execution. Former U.S. Marine Robert Wallach claimed he and other Marines opened a safe on Saipan and found Earhart's briefcase.
What?
Former U.S. Marine Erskine J. Navers claimed that while serving as a wireless operator on Saipan in 1944, he decoded a message from naval officials which said Earhart aircraft had been found at the airfield in the village of Aslito in Saipan, and he was later ordered to guard the aircraft and then witnessed its destruction.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
I like the idea of Earhart just being like a badass spy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like an Indiana Jones plus a Hellboy plus a hitman.
Behind enemy lines.
Just go in and just go, oh, hi, everyone. I'm Amelia Earhart. I'm just here to have my eyes in the clouds. Just breaks a neck. Breaks a bunch of necks.
Here's an interesting alternative to that theory called the Tokyo Rose theory. Are you familiar with Tokyo Rose?
That's not an album cover, right?
No. Tokyo Rose was this infamous American woman who, during World War II, would broadcast from Japan about how great Japan was.
Hello, Yankee brothers. This is your Japanese sister, the voice of truth.
Get Tokyo Rose.
Reaches out to you from the peacefulness of Japan.
And then would play American music in an attempt from the Japanese to commit psychological warfare on GIs in the Pacific Theater and make them homesick and want to go home.
Yeah, that happened a lot for a lot of different... It wasn't just her. There was a lot of those,
Yes, there was 2 or 3 voices that would just...
plain kind of generic lady voices, which would be all of their loved ones back home.
Is that Tokyo Rose, brothers?
Yeah, I guess so.
The impossible.
And no accent.
Come back to me, boys, for both sides.
And they were known as Tokyo Rose women, but there was one voice in particular. People believe that when Amelia Earhart supposedly crash-landed in Saipan, she defected and became a traitor and became Tokyo Rose.
We're ready again for a vicious assault on your morale. That's all for now, enemies, but there'll be more of the same tomorrow night.
Well, that's a movie.
A side note, it didn't actually work. My grandfather was a GI in the Pacific Theater, and there's a lot of stories that the GIs are actually happy to hear music from back home. And
also,
they would intentionally listen to it.
I mean, I get it. Your grandpa was a badass. I'm sure there was one weak-willed man who's like, I miss home.
I miss her.
Or just sadly, just kind of
in love with Tokyo
sadly,
Rose.
just kind of rubs it to Tokyo Rose's voice, just like...
The last theory is the assumed another identity theory. In November 2006, the National Geographic Channel aired episode 2 of the Undiscovered History series about a claim that Earhart survived the world flight, moved to New Jersey, changed her name, remarried, and became Irene Craigsmeal Bolam. This claim had been originally raised in the book Amelia Earhart Lives in 1970 by author Joe Klaas, based on the research of Major Joseph Gervais. Irene Bolam, who had been a banker in New York in the 40s, denied being Earhart and filed a lawsuit requesting $1.5 million in damages.
Why did this connection ever get made? Does she just look like her, or is it just
She looks like her, and maybe some guy had some tenuous thing. But sure enough, the book was withdrawn from the market shortly after, and that she was settled out of court. And then subsequently, her life story has been researched thoroughly, and it's like there's no way that she could be Earhart. So,
also, like, Amelia Earhart was, I mean, you get the impression she was kind of feeling the attention. You don't go and decide to do this big public, like, I'm going to do this crazy trip around the ocean, like, unless you kind of enjoy the intention and being bold. Why
you don't then they go underground.
I'm going to shatter barriers for all women. And they go, you know what would be nice? If I was just an accountant, if I was just like worked at a bank and gave people money. That sounds real nice next.
So my question to you is, which of those theories do you think is correct?
I think for sure it's some sort of crash. I like to think that they might have like landed on another island, even though there wasn't a government cover-up. If someone actually did like recover the plane and they destroyed it or anything like that, I could see just like for national security or even like a, hey, the story's great now. I could see a journal being like, no one needs to know at this point. Like just still breaking up the plane or that seems a lot more plausible. I do really like her being a kick-ass spy though. I like the idea of that a lot.
Maybe this will answer your question. A recently unearthed military report from Gerard Gallagher, a British colonial officer who was a licensed pilot and was stationed at Gardner Island. He radioed his superiors way back in 1941 to inform that he had found a skeleton, possibly that of a woman.
Okay.
Along with an old-fashioned sextant box under a tree on the island's southeast corner. He was ordered to send the remains to Fiji, where British colonial authorities took detailed measurements of the bones and concluded they were from a male about 5 feet and 5 inches tall. However, in 1998, analysis of the measurement data by forensic anthropologists confirmed the original findings, but concluded that the skeleton had belonged to a tall white female of Northern European ancestry. The bones themselves were misplaced in Fiji long ago and have not been found.
We're still missing one person either way. Either it's the guy or the girl on the trip.
Yes.
I think there was a murder. I think someone landed on the island and go, this is my chance. This is my chance to get rid of her.
So they found bones that were a European woman on an otherwise uninhabited island.
Maybe that was Eve, Aaron. Maybe that was the original Eve.
They also found artifacts that were found by a group called TIGHAR, which is the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, on the nearby island of Nikamororo, which is the current name of Gardner Island. They found improvised tools, an aluminum panel, possibly from an Electra, like the Lockheed that she flew.
Sure.
An oddly cut piece of clear plexiglass, which is the same thickness and curvature of an Electra window, and a size 9 cat's paw heel dated from the 1930s, which resembles Earhart's footwear in world flight photos.
That sounds right. That sounds like that's it. That's the one.
They also found
Thanks for telling me that before I pick a one and sound like a dummy.
They also found a zipper that appeared to be from her bomber jacket in 2007. So in the end, it appears the mystery of Amelia Earhart may have been at last laid to rest. That fateful night in 1937, a battered Amelia hauled herself up from the waves, bloodied but alive, dragging what little equipment she could salvage from the wreckage of her plane before it disappeared in the abyssal ocean below. She sat for days after, searching for her partner Fred in the surf, but he never appeared. After a week passed and rescue did not come, she realized that her circumstances and life were this now. She took the window and wing of her plane and began to build. She lived there, calm and serene on the beach for an unknown time. But though she may not have made her way to California, she was certain of one thing. Her fame would live on, and she was a survivor.
No, I refuse to accept this fan fiction. Fred, or whatever his name was, he pulled her from the wreckage and said, God damn it, you will survive. And he cared for her. He cared for her for weeks.
And then he's like, I'm going to find help. And then he swam off the ocean.
Brought her back to health, and then swam off and fought a fucking shark. He's like, God damn it, someone will remember me. And then died in the terrible drowned ocean, and he is the true hero.
Yes. So that's what happened to Amelia Earhart. I got one more. It's very quick. Okay. This one's about the first plane. Did you know that the Wright brothers were in fact not the first people to successfully achieve air
Stop
flight.
trying to smear the Wright brothers' names. They're good men, but
They
sure.
are fine men.
What?
But around 10 people were documented to have flown before the Wright brothers did, dating all the way back to 1857. Various gliders.
Proof. Let me see something.
That's the problem, is that they're documented, but not as well as the Wright brothers. So the Wright brothers were a great mass marketing team. They had news reporters there. They had cameras that took the famous Kitty Hawk flyer photo. But other people had flying machines that worked before them.
I don't know, man. Picture didn't happen. That's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. And I need to, someone could just write, and then a man flapped his arms with a fancy machine and he flew.
Yes.
Sure, man with a crazy imagination. You're probably on heroin. They were just selling it in bottles to you at that point.
Here's the thing. The Wright brothers did contribute to aviation. They did happen
You're
to have...
goddamn right they did.
They had a better design. But it was not the first.
Well, I mean, there's those great footage of people just falling off buildings with flying machines.
But there's things that actually flew, including one of the guys who is the victim of a conspiracy instigated by the Wright brothers themselves.
Okay.
The Wright brothers wanted to be the first, and they hated anybody else saying that they weren't the first, right?
I mean, I'm not going to speak for them. I think they're honorable guys, but go ahead and start saying they're assholes. But keep going.
One of these earlier inventors who designed and built a successful aircraft that flew before the Wright brothers was, in fact, one of the people who would later be responsible to keep their legacy. A man by the name of Samuel P. Langley, the secretary of the Smithsonian Institution. From 1887 until his death in 1906, experimented for years with model flying machines and successfully flew unmanned-powered fixed-wing model aircraft from 1896 all the way through 1903.
Man, that doesn't count.
But the point is, he was able to create flying machines that were capable of carrying humans. He insisted on including his own flying machines in the Smithsonian.
Of course he did.
The Wright brothers hated this and actually made the Smithsonian sign a document that said, if you ever acknowledge anyone else ever flying before we did, then we will take the Kitty Hawk flyer back and it will go to our heirs and they can do whatever they want with it.
They'll burn it.
They will burn it.
On it.
By doing so, they essentially have single-handedly created a conspiracy and keep it alive to this day from beyond the grave that the Wright brothers were first when they actually weren't.
I'm sticking on their side, man. I acknowledge that maybe there was, but I don't see any video. I don't see any photos and stuff. So until then, I'm just gonna go with the Wright brothers. Guys, it's so marketable. You love the idea of just two brothers, best friends, making planes together. There's nothing better than that. Than just a guy who owned museums and put his own things with them. I think that's the cocky one. Which side do you take? Team museum guy or team belovable Wright brothers? Wright brothers all the way. Go Wright brothers. Let us know which side you take, please. I think that's where we need to wrap up for Mysterious Planes. Guys, thanks for listening to Paranoia Shop. We genuinely love all of your guys' feedback. You guys have been great. Really, really solid suggestions for stuff. We're definitely giving us a lot of stuff to hit for episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of great stuff. We actually have enough. We could probably do another fan episode now.
So get your questions in now if you really want to get in for the next one. And thank you for everyone who tweeted at the show, like Esquire Bob and Basil Carlo, Almighty Corks, Red and Fox, Fabian Rodriguez, Meg Turnhorst. A ton of people sent us stuff.
And thanks for the emails.
A ton of people sent us emails to paranoiashop@gmail.com.
That's SHOPPE.
Yeah, the fancy ones. Let's see. Javier, Steven, Travis, Alex Hagel. Tons of great suggestions.
We love getting your suggestions. We love getting your emails, your fan mails, your tweets, your everything. It really makes it great. So thanks. Feel free to hit us up on Twitter. That's @Paranoia Shop. Or you can tweet directly at me, Aaron, @GoodAaron.
You can tweet at me, @Quantum Theory. Or, get emails at paranoiashop@gmail.com. And also check out the website. We got a little website going for all the episodes. We're going to start trying to link to all of the videos we talk about, the images, a little more stuff so you can actually have visual examples of stuff we reference. And that's paranoiashop.com. Pretty cool.
And be sure to check out our little mini-sode that's going to be coming up on the Exploso Magico Anniversary Podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty good.
It's going to be a giant 3-hour little thing.
I mean, we're only like 20 to 30 minutes of it, but it's going to be pretty good content. Yeah.
It's going to be a great, big, super eclectic pot
over the course of
fun.
Aaron, what do you have to play us out?
Well, to close us out, I thought, what if I were to tell you that there are some people that don't believe airplanes exist at all.
I'd say that makes a lot of sense. I believe it.
Well, there's a rather large swath of, shall we say, intrepid journalists on YouTube. Not just one, I was surprised, but multiple people who believe that planes are not planes at all, but in fact are flying demons that follow motorists and scan them to persecute them for their sins.
Okay.
So let's hear a little bit of journalism from one of these gonzo reporters, shall we?
This is a YouTube video called Fake Demonic Airplane Flying Over Me.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
In the name of Jesus. The sky demon, folks. Here's another one. This is a good, clear shot.
It's a good demon.
Of this rascal. I'm exposing them for y'all. No plane looks like that, folks.
Oh, shit.
In the name of Jesus.
Wait, so he believes in planes, just not those planes.
This is a sky demon.
But no plane looks like that.
Look at it. He's looking back at me, too.
The plane's just shooting fingers like...
for y'all people. These things are not real, folks. In the name of Jesus, holographic sky demons.
What a rascal.
Holographic sky demons. Oh, shit.
They also disguised as, I don't know, they use some type of cloaking technology.
So demons have cloaking technology?
Oh, yeah. You don't want to always be out there. You gotta be discreet every once in a while.
Father. I mean, folks, but come to Jesus, people. Hallelujah.
I mean, hey.
Coming back soon. These are the end time deception. End times. I'm out.
Jeez, I feel like he's about to plug his book at the end. That's great.
D.B. Cooper lives.
This has been an Explosomagico podcast production. For more information, please visit explosomagico.com.